Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. We have some more lovely guests joining us here this morning to talk about the Iowa Files program, which is coming up, Bonnie and Clyde. And so excited to learn more about that. And here to tell us all about it, we have Gail Brubaker, who's the executive director with the West Des Moines Historical Society. We also have Rod Stanley, a historian. So welcome. Thank you for joining us here this morning.
Our pleasure.
I love all of the programs you guys put together over there. For just briefly, just touch on just the West Des Moines Historical Society as a whole, and maybe kind of what you guys do throughout the year and things people can look forward to.
Well, 2020 is a big year for us. This is our 50th birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Yay, send presents.
Okay.
So the Historical Society was actually formed in 1970 specifically to save the Jordan House.
Okay.
You know, the stop on the Underground Railroad in West Des Moines, and we are the only stop in central Iowa that's open on a regular basis. So we have tours there on Fridays and Sundays. And the Iowa Files is part of the educational outreach programs that we do. It's focusing just on Iowa history, the people and the places and the events that make Iowa a really interesting place to live. So the Iowa Files is at the West Des Moines Library every month.
That is great, and people are loving the Iowa Files.
Oh my goodness.
So it's every month you guys are holding these?
From September through May.
Okay.
So it's 8 months of education about fascinating things. Last month we learned about Buxton, Iowa.
Okay,
and
that's right.
Yeah, that was a turn people away crowd. So
nice.
And Rod is very well known in the community for his historical stories. So I'm really excited about this Sunday as well.
All right, so Rod, what are we going to learn about this Sunday?
About Bonnie and Clyde. I gave a program like, I think was it 2 years ago, or was it last year?
It was last year.
It was last year, actually, but about the Dexfield Park shootout. Bonnie and Clyde shot it out with a posse near Dexter, Iowa.
Is that in Dallas County?
That's in Dallas County.
That's in Dallas County, yeah. I didn't realize that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I talked about that, and this year I'm talking about, people always want to know what happened after the Dexfield Park.
Right.
And so I put together a program that kind of traces their life from the time they leave Dexfield Park to the time that they're killed in Gibbsland, Louisiana in 1934.
Wow. What's real special about things that happened when they were here in Iowa? You said with the shootout that was there.
Oh, well, it was the biggest shootout in Dallas County history. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
I mean, it was a local posse, probably between 50 and 75 men.
Oh my goodness, that many.
Oh yeah, it was a large, probably even more than that, because there wasn't a sign-in sheet to know who.
Didn't expect one to be.
To know who was there.
So were they all waiting to ambush them when they got there, or what was the deal?
Well, they were at a campground at the old amusement park, and again, that's another program in itself. That there was an amusement park north of Dexter.
There was.
And it was one of the first ones built in the state of Iowa, and had an Olympic-sized swimming pool and so on. But they were at this campground, and they were found out, and this posse went out there not knowing that it was the Barrel Gang. There was 5 people in the gang that were out there, and I mean, it was a big shootout. Then
wow.
An ambush and a big shootout.
Now, is this what people are saying? This was the beginning to the end?
I don't know if you can say that, because they were involved like in 9 shootouts. In fact, they were involved in a shootout in Platte City, Missouri, before they came to Dexter, and they got shot up there as well, and they got shot up really bad at the Dexfield Park. And they were lucky to escape with their lives that day.
Right, we're talking when 1934?
33.
33.
July of 1933.
Okay. And then they died in 34.
They had less than 9 months to live. Yeah, they got ambushed in Gibbsland, Louisiana, and killed.
Talk about some of their activity here in Iowa with some of the banks that they robbed, and kind of
they loved
walk us
Iowa.
through that.
They loved Iowa.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They did love Iowa because they could come here and be unbothered. They spent 5 days at the park and came into the town of Dexter and bought all kinds of things and so on. And the people in Dexter had no clue.
Really?
Who they were. They had no idea who they were. But they came back in April of 1934 and robbed a bank in Stewart, which is
right. We heard that story.
That was 4 miles up the road from Dexter. They robbed a bank in Kinneret, Iowa. They robbed a bank in Rembrandt, Iowa. They robbed a bank in fact, the last bank they ever robbed was in Everly, Iowa, up in northwest Iowa. So they like coming here.
What kind of hauls were they taking when you say robbing banks? Of course, we have to realize what time it was. What period? Early 30s.
It was during the Depression, but these banks had money. I would say anywhere between $300 and $3,000.
Okay, which was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money at that time. Yes.
Wow, it's just amazing that they could do things like that and then just scamper down the road a little piece.
Today they would last maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean there was no radio communications and things like that, and plus Clyde Barrel, he was a fantastic car driver, and he loved his V8 Fords, and I mean if he was going to steal a car, that's what
He knew which cars to take, right? He knew which vehicles.
Well, it had a V8 engine, the flathead 8, and it would go 85 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So I mean it was like, yeah, if I can in fact he supposedly wrote a letter to Henry Ford and basically said in the letter, it says why I still have breath left in my lungs, because he knew he was going to get killed. They both knew they were going to get killed eventually. And they weren't going back to prison. Clyde said, I'm not going back to prison. But anyway, he said to Henry Ford, well, I still have breath left in my lungs. I want to tell you just what a fantastic car you've got and how fast it is. And it's just, if I can steal one, I'm going to steal one of yours.
Wow. So thanking the manufacturer for having fast cars.
Yeah, and then, but the funny thing about that is that Henry Ford used that as an advertising.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yeah. He advertised, you know, you want the fastest car, just listen to this guy. You know, because he hasn't got caught yet. So
talk about in these towns where they robbed these banks. Did they linger there? Are there stories of maybe the townspeople and their interaction of the time that they spent in these towns, or did they just kind of come in, rob, and leave? Or
well, like in Dexter, there were a lot of stories of people in Dexter that saw Bonnie and Clyde, not knowing who they were. I mean, they went and bought groceries. They bought takeout food from a restaurant.
Medical supplies.
Medical supplies, because you know when they came to Dexter, Clyde's brother Buck Barrel, in that shootout in Platte City, he had part of his head blown off.
Oh.
And I mean, actually, like 2 inches of his skull. And when they caught him out there at the park and brought him into the doctors, I mean, the doctor said you could see his brain. I mean, he was still functioning, but man, he was you know severe, and eventually he died, probably from that wound. But you know, the people in Dexter saw him, didn't know who they were, just knew that they were strangers in town spending a lot of money. So
And they're welcoming the money being spent.
That's right. I mean, they didn't ask questions about, you know, who they were. And you have to understand that Highway 6, and again, I don't know how much you know about Highway 6 was the main route across Iowa, and lots of people traveled highways. Lots of strangers stopped in Dexter.
Sure, so it wasn't unusual.
No, it wasn't unusual to have people in town like that, but yeah.
But amazing stories.
interesting. All right, so if people want to come and hear this presentation and more about this story and the history and so forth, it's this Sunday, correct?
This Sunday at the West Des Moines Public Library. Doors to the community room open at 2, and then the program takes off at 2:30. So I would advise folks to get there close to 2, because last time we had not just a standing room only crowd, but a turn people away crowd.
Wow.
So if for some reason you can't make it, thanks to the West Des Moines Public Library Friends Foundation and Conjunction Media, we are able to tape and every single program and put it up on the Society's YouTube channel.
Oh, very nice.
That's a great idea.
Okay, perfect.
So we can check that out too.
Can I promote the Dexter Museum?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have the museum in Dexter, and we open officially in May.
Oh, okay.
May until October, but we have a great exhibit of Bonnie and Clyde stuff out there, and I encourage people that are, and you wouldn't believe how many people are interested in Bonnie and Clyde. I mean, we have thousands of people come to Dexter every year just to see about the shootout and about what's going on with those people, and there's a fascination with them, and because they were young, male and female, you know, but it was there's a cult out there of Bonnie and Clyde.
So they can learn more this Sunday over there at the West Des Moines Public Library, starting doors open at 2, presentation at 2:30, and then visit the museum there in Dexter, it sounds like.
Yes.
Great
Very
job.
nice.
Well, thank you so much for letting us know about this.
Thank you.
You guys are
Very
going to be
interesting.
jam-packed again.
I hope so.
I think you will be.